Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 1273, and it is November the 2nd, 2020. Election, I guess 2 days before the election. We're getting there. Yes, we are. Well, let's cover a few things. We actually have some Spygate news for today. Nothing major, but certainly some information that's just sort of filling in some of the pieces of the puzzle. Something that we've known for a couple months now, but it's now finally been confirmed. So we'll go ahead and get into that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on with the election. But yeah, I don't know how many of you guys saw the photos. Some of the video from the Michigan rally yesterday. 58,000 people. 58,000 people. Very tough weather conditions up there. It was cold, windy, snowy. Very bad weather up there. But 58,000 people turned out for that Michigan rally. If you had any doubt in your mind whether or not Trump's going to carry Michigan again, I think you can pretty well cast those doubts aside. Trump's definitely going to carry Michigan. And hopefully John James will prevail in Michigan as well. Now, let's talk about this Spygate detail that popped out here a couple days ago. This has to do with Igor Danchenko, Steele's supposed primary subsource. As we learned a few months ago, or as is being alleged, Danchenko, Iggy, had his own subsources, and it appears now they've identified the main one as this Olga Galkina. Now, Full Nelson had actually discovered her about 2 months ago, as certainly being one of his key sources for Danchenko. But now it's finally been confirmed that she was, in fact, Danchenko's primary source for information, or she's being described by the Wall Street Journal, the most important contributor to the information that Danchenko allegedly supplied to Christopher Steele. Now, as most of you know, I'm not 100% buying in to how this worked, as far as it's still the narrative that Steele got the information from Danchenko, and Danchenko had his little sources, his contributors, and then it flowed back to Steele. But, you know, once we get to the bottom of all this, I think we're going to find, what we've already seen indications of it, that this information was not flowing in that direction. That the information was actually flowing in the opposite direction. And I think that we'll eventually learn that this is all true. Now, this particular person, Olga Galkina, and I think that she was in Cyprus. Now, I think she's originally a Russian, and that's how Danchenko knew her, from also being a Russian. But I guess she had moved to Cyprus, was working in Cyprus. But apparently, she is the one who was the source for the fake Michael Cohen going to Prague story, which was one of the major revelations. And she, supposedly had other things that she told him as well. And it appears that she was a disgruntled Russian public relations executive with a bad drinking problem, a lot like Iggy and Hunter and some other people we know. Now, apparently, the company she worked for was an internet hosting unit, which parent company was Webzilla. That's right, Webzilla. Now you can probably see where this is going, right? So we all know that Webzilla is the company that's owned by Alexei Gubarev. Gubarev, of course, is the person who was smeared in the Steele dossier as being the person who owned the tech firm where the plot was hatched by the so-called Russian hackers to hack into the DNC and all that sort of thing. So that is the origin of all of that. And you can bet that now that her name has come out, you can bet that Alexei Gubarev is going to be taking a very close look at her, because that's ultimately where he wanted to get down to. Now, she probably has no money or anything like that he can go after. She's, doesn't appear that she's financially anyone who he could, get any real money from. It would cost him a lot of money to go after her, so he's probably not going to bother. But Christopher Steele, now he can tie her directly to Steele and possibly Danchenko, although I don't think Danchenko is going to be a target. But the thing is that both, in order to save themselves, both Danchenko and this woman, Olga Galkina, will most likely have to testify as a witness against Steele. And that, again, this will be, and Steele is still involved in this previous lawsuit with the two Russian Alpha Bank, lawyers. So this will go back to Alexei Gubarev, whose first crack at Steele, I don't think it was successful. So now he'll go back at Steele, and ultimately he'll have this Olga Galkina, and he'll have Iggy having to testify against Steele. And then, of course, Steele will be in a very tight position, and he may likely have to come clean and testify against likely Fusion GPS and Sussman from Perkins Coie. Now, we learned back earlier in the summer that Sussman admitted that he had been flying or going out to Brooklyn to the Hillary Clinton headquarters once a week for meetings where he was getting instructions. And of course, he was passing information along to Simpson, and Simpson was then feeding Steele. That's why I say the information flow seems to be going the opposite direction of what we're being led to believe. We're being told it was all going from Christopher Steele, then over to Fusion GPS, and then back to the media, to the Clinton campaign, to the FBI, and whoever. But, we learned early in the summer that Sussman was the one that was hand-delivering information to the FBI and to the CIA. He was making regular trips every week out to Brooklyn to the Hillary Clinton campaign headquarters for these meetings, these strategy meetings, where they were focused primarily on the Russian collusion hoax and how to keep that going. It looks like Sussman was the point man for the Clinton campaign between Clinton and Fusion GPS, and that they were the ones who were actually creating all of this, and then they were feeding it to Steele, and he was simply laundering it. Just simply laundering it, repackaging it, and putting it back in. Now, he probably needed to find some sort of way to cover himself, to have some sort of sources. That's why he lied about these so-called sources that he had. Because if you remember, the very first article that came out in the late spring of 2017, which proclaimed that they had learned about Steele's sources, and they, of course, got this from Steele himself. They were listing Steele sources as being a high-level current intelligence guy from Russia, a high-level former defense establishment, Russian establishment guy, another guy who was like a diplomat guy, high-level diplomat. They had 5 people they listed as sources A through E, which were supposedly all these guys who were these highly connected current or former Russian, military and diplomatic people and all that sort of thing. We now know that's total bullshit, that all Steele had was Iggy and his 5 drunken friends. And so now that we know the truth about all that, and we know that it was Steele who provided the phony, fake Russian diplomats and intelligence people or whatever, now that we know all that, it certainly makes sense when you put that together with what we learned earlier in the summer about the fact that the flow was coming from Clinton and her lawyer Sussman to Fusion GPS, to Christopher Steele, and then being, laundered and sent back. And then he was pushing into the FBI and through the State Department and everything else. So again, to me, it looks like that the flow of information was not going in that direction, but rather going in the opposite direction. In other words, it was home cooked. It was being cooked from very close within the immediate inner circle of the Right Reverend Clinton, people close to her, probably her good friend over there at the Brookings Institution, as well as Sussman and Fusion GPS. And Steele was simply there to launder information. That's the only reason he was there, just to launder the information and to be someone who they could use to feed the FBI and the intelligence people because he had some street cred as being a former spy. So I think we're going to find out when we get to the end of all this that the information flow is not what we're being told it is. That the information flow is actually going the other way. It was not coming from Steele, it was going to Steele. And it was originating from within the inner circle of the rotten Reverend Clinton and her cronies. So now we have what happens here is Olga Galkina is fired from her job because she apparently was coming in late a lot and showing up drunk. So she gets fired. So what does she do? She starts sending death threats against her boss who fired her. And then she tells Steele that it was the parent company's owner, Mr. Gubarev of Webzilla, who's the parent company of the company she works for, tells Steele that it was Mr. Gubarev who was, his company, and he was facilitating the Russian hackers, which did the hacking of the DNC and all this. So she was obviously targeting her boss, and that's already been proven. She was targeting him with violence, I guess you could say, death threats. And then she decided to go one step farther and try to implicate Mr. Gubarev, who owns Webzilla, in the plot as well. So she was just throwing pure BS up at Danchenko, and he was passing it along to Steele. So I think there was probably some of this going on. But I think if you look at the bulk of the information that's in the Steele dossier, I think we'll find that was all flowing from the Clinton campaign, from Sussman, from Fusion GPS, and that some of the information that Danchenko was getting was where he was told, hey, look into this, and he was trying to get corroboration. And then this effort to try to get corroboration, because he obviously convinced Steele that he had some sort of high-level sources, which he in fact didn't. They were just a bunch of Russian drinking buddies, old friends of his. And I think that when he kicked this information to them to try to see if they could confirm some stuff, they couldn't confirm anything really, so they would just start making up stuff. And I think that that's basically what this all boils down to. It was all complete, total garbage. And that garbage was coming primarily from the Clinton inner circle, Fusion GPS and Sussman. And then some of it was coming from Danchenko's drinking buddies. And he was feeding that to Steele. And Steele was swallowing it hook, line, and sinker. Because remember, he was paying Danchenko pretty well for the garbage. So there you go, Olga Galkina, now identified as the most important contributor to Christopher Steele's garbage via Igor Danchenko, Iggy. So there you go, another piece of the puzzle filled in. Again, we had this name about 2 or 3 months ago from Full Nelson. He's the one that first discovered it, and now it's been confirmed by the Wall Street Journal. Tell you what, Christopher Steele, I hope he put back a lot of that money because he's going to get sued again. Here comes Mr. Gubarev. He's coming back for more. And now that he's got Galkina and he'll have Danchenko as witnesses testifying against Steele, that should pretty much take care of it. And at some point, Steele's going to buckle. And, I said a long time ago, if you really wanted to bring this thing to a conclusion pretty quickly, again, I don't know what the methods are for John Durham, but he's got plenty of evidence that he could go over to London and inform Steele's lawyers that they got enough information to have him extradited back to the States, to have him tried for some serious crimes. Obviously, he lied to Congress. That's a no-brainer there. But other things that he was involved in, he would certainly be looking at several felonies. All you would have to do to Christopher Steele is let him know that you intend to prosecute him for those felonies. That would scare him bad enough that you could also offer him a deal, immunity, for him to tell everything he knows. Give Christopher Steele immunity and force him to talk. Christopher Steele could probably blow up the entire thing very quickly. Could blow up the entire thing. He could probably tell you who put Downer in the game, who put Misfit in the game. He could probably tell you all of that. So that is an option. Whether or not that'll be exercised, I don't know. It's something I would have done a long time ago if I wanted to finish this thing quickly and let Steele walk. I'm not so sure I want Steele to walk, but if you don't mind letting Steele walk, go over there and tell him that you're going to hit him with all these felonies, of which you certainly could, and then offer him a plea deal to come completely clean, tell everything he knows. I guarantee Steele would flip in a New York minute because he knows that he's the one that they're going to throw under the bus. He knows that the FBI, the CIA, and all the rest are not going to cover him. They're going to throw him under the bus when push comes to shove. He knows that. And that's why I say offer him complete immunity. I guarantee he would give up the entire thing. But we'll get there when we get there. I think after the election, I think that a lot of things are going to pick up on the Spygate front. Better. In fact, we had Lindsey Graham, who was on with Maria Bartiromo, and he told her that based on what he's seen, that he would be absolutely shocked if Durham does not drop quite a few prosecutions on people after the elections. Yeah, I think that goes for everyone. I think everyone will be shocked if Durham doesn't drop, because after the election, they have no more excuses. You can't say it could be political, the election. That's all done and over. Trump's been reelected in a major landslide, and at that point, Durham and Barr have to produce. And if they don't, by January 20th, by Inauguration Day, I'd fire Barr, and I would tell Durham to turn over all of his investigative work up to this point over to my new team, the president's new team, which is a new team he would appoint to get to the bottom of it. And I'd tell Durham to go back home and get on with whatever he was doing before, take what he's collected to this point, supply that to the new team coming in who's actually going to get to the bottom of things. But yeah, Lindsey Graham saying pretty emphatically that from what he's seen after the elections, he would be shocked if in fact there aren't prosecutions. Yep, there better be. Well, it's kind of funny. We are seeing now in the last 24 to 48 hours, you're now seeing the corporate lying media, the legacy media is now having to admit that Trump will win if his base shows up to vote. Yeah, if his base, yeah. They'll wait out in freezing temperatures for hours on end by the tens of thousands, and they're wondering if Trump's base is going to show up and vote. But they got an even bigger problem that they're not even talking about, that I'm going to talk about right now. Obviously, Trump's folks are going to show up, and he's going to win big. As I already said, I'm predicting Trump 322 electoral votes. I came to that conclusion 2 days ago, and I said that in the last video I did day before yesterday. On Saturday morning's video, I put my number out there, 322. Now, another thing that I think that they're not even paying attention to is we've been hearing for the past couple of weeks with the early voting and mail-in balloting and things like that. We've been hearing, well, the Democrats are ahead. There's more of these coming in. There's more Democrats voting, which we expected. Of course, the Republicans will outvote the Democrats on Election Day 2-1. But what they're not telling you, and what they probably don't even know at this point, is how many of those Democrat votes that are casting early votes or mail-in voting, how many of them are voting for Trump. We can tell you right now that at least 10 or 15%, we know that Trump got almost 15% of Democrats in 2016. And we know, because they tabulate these numbers at these rallies, how many Democrats are at these rallies, and it's in upwards of 25 to 30% of people at Trump's rallies are Democrats. So the idea that all these Democrat votes have been coming in, yes, they have been, almost 2-1 in most cases. But we also know that a lot of Democrats are supporting Trump. And so when they look at these numbers, we got this many Democrat ballots in and this many Republican ballots, they're assuming that all those Democrats are all voting for Biden. They don't know that. And in fact, based on 2016 and based on what we've been seeing at the Trump rallies, it looks like anywhere from 15 to 25% of those Democrat ballots are for Trump, not for Democrats, not for Biden. So that's one factor that's going to figure into the landslide election, but also they are terrified looking at the amount of black and Hispanic voters voting for Trump. Now, I'll give you a tip, you guys, when we're watching the election returns coming in on Tuesday night, and we usually get the numbers from Florida pretty early, on South Florida, because they're an hour before North Florida. We usually get those returns in from South Florida, Broward County, Dade County, in that area. Usually, those numbers are coming in around 8:30 to 9 o'clock. And we have a pretty good idea by that time, 25% or so of the votes in, enough to make a forecast. And that's the thing to watch right there. If you want to know the key to whether or not this is going to be a landslide election all across the country, pay close attention to the early returns coming in from the southern counties down in Florida, Broward and Dade County. And if you see, and if we see, that there's a lot of Republican votes, maybe not enough to win those two counties, but enough that, remember, Hillary won with like 64% to 34% in Broward County, and about the same numbers over in Dade. If you start seeing, numbers pretty close to 50-50, or even just a little, maybe Trump even get just a little under 50, maybe 45, 46, 47, a 10-point move in Broward and Dade County because of the black and Hispanic and Venezuelan and Nicaraguan and all these other groups. Not to mention there's a lot of gay people down that area too. Now obviously Key West is really, really a lot of gay people down there, but you also have a lot of gay people down that area as well. So we know that Trump has pretty decent support from the gay community as well. So if we start seeing these returns coming in somewhere between 8:30 and 9, we should start seeing these returns from the southern counties down in Florida. Dade and Broward are the two to focus on. If we start seeing that Trump got anywhere above 40% in Dade and Broward, that will tell you we are looking at a massive, massive landslide. That's what that will tell us. So that's what I'll be focusing on very early in the evening. Last year, I'm going to do the same thing I did in 2016. I think 2016, I had two browsers open. One, Styx Hexenhammer, who also will be doing live stream on election night. Of course, the Young Turks will be doing live stream. Got to watch the Young Turks. It's just so funny. I want to see if they can repeat the meltdown they had in 2016. I don't know if they can top that, but it'll be interesting to watch, to see. So I'll probably have those two browsers open, going back and forth. And, of course, then I'll be opening up other browsers from time to time to look at other things as the night's going on. But that's my plans for election eve. For election night, I'm sure that one of you all will be doing the same, or monitoring pretty closely yourself some way. So that's where I'm going to be. That's why I'll be focused mainly on those two places, Styx Hexenhammer and the Young Turks. That'll be mostly what I'll be watching, the live streams. So anyway, like I said, watch the early returns coming in from Dade and Broward County. If you see that Trump's getting anywhere close to 40%, especially if he eclipses 40%, we're looking at a landslide. And I think that is what we're looking at. Again, I went with 322, but I left out 2 states, possibly 3 states, that Trump may win. If he wins all 3 of those, then he wouldn't be in the 320 range. He'd be closer to the 340, 350 range. So I didn't give him those 3 states, but they're in play. But I feel pretty good he'll get at least 322. Something else that's going on here, it's all over the internet. A lot of people have heard about it, may even be worried about it. We're hearing about, that after the election, a bunch of left-wing radicals are going to try to seize the White House. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I know a lot of people are taking it seriously, and if you're one of them people taking it seriously, I don't mean to be making fun of you or anything like that, but just let me assure you that the crazies won't be taking over the White House. The White House is well equipped to defend the White House. The crazies will not be overtaking the White House. I can assure you that. You might have a massacre on the lawn, on the front lawn of the White House, but you won't have people taking over the White House. That's not going to happen. They have many sharpshooters, special forces up on the roof with lots of guns and ammo. They have tons. They're already prepared. They got U.S. Marshals. They got all kinds of law enforcement already scheduled to be there. I mean, it's the leftists. They're crazy. That's all I can say. They're crazy. And I'll tell you one other thing too. After the election, the riots and things that are being planned are going to be treated much differently than they've been treated during this election season. Once the election's over, some of the political touchiness will be gone, and you won't see that. The game is going to change after the election in the way that they deal with these rioters. Things are about to, the patty cake is over. The game moving forward, from this point forward, after the election, when the rioters start trying to fire that stuff back up again, especially in D.C., where the president actually is in charge, you're going to see a different type of crackdown on this stuff. The political season's over after the election, and so at that point, governors, mayors, police chiefs, sheriffs, the president, people like that, they'll be able to go ahead and take care of the rioters in the proper way, and the kid gloves are coming off, and the rioters are going to see an entirely different response from law enforcement after the election that they saw during the summer. The gloves are coming off, and I expect that this will be put down very quickly, and I don't expect it will continue much after the first of the year. I think it'll be pretty much over at that point, and the way it's dealt with moving forward will not be what we've seen during the summer. Kid gloves are coming off. There's going to be a lot of ass-kicking going on, and a lot of people arrested and thrown in jail as well. So don't worry about that. The White House is fine. The White House is going to be just fine. Now let's cover just the latest information to come out on Hunter's laptop, the laptop from hell. So the Wall Street Journal, again, as I said, had been given, as well as now the Daily Caller, has also been given a chance to view the hard drive. And they are getting deeper into it. And they are talking about this hard drive that Hunter dropped off, it's a national security nightmare. And well, the Chinese probably have this info, the Russians probably have it, who knows who's got what, but this is a national security nightmare. We learn now that Hunter's password, he didn't even have encryption. Dude was not even running, he's the son of the vice president. He's going to all these commercial sites. He's not even running any encryption whatsoever. Totally unencrypted. A password of Hunter02. That was his password. Hunter02. Very easy password to crack. The Chinese or the Russians or Iranians, they could crack that password in 15 minutes. Very, very incompetent, I guess you'd say, of Hunter. But we're also learning that on that hard drive was also Joe Biden's phone numbers, multiple phone numbers for Joe Biden, as well as his 3 private email addresses for Joe Biden, as well as the names, addresses, and phone numbers of his Secret Service protection. We're learning that there were hundreds of phone numbers of politicians, Hollywood actors. This would include the Clintons. This would include the entire Obama and his entire cabinet. There were Hunter's personal documents are on this hard drive, including his driver's license, a photo. These are photos of his driver's license, social security card, credit cards, and bank statements. I mean, this guy's straight up stupid. I mean, he's probably would be one of the most, I'd say in the top 50 or so, most targeted people by a foreign government. And I mean, he made it so easy for them. I can't believe that he didn't get some sort of a defensive briefing. I mean, you're the child of the vice president. Aren't you getting some sort of a briefing about how you should secure your devices and stuff like that for security reasons? Not just for yourself, but your father, people in the campaign, the people who protect you, the Secret Service. I mean, this is just insanity, man. You can't believe this guy could be this stupid. But his hard drive is a national security nightmare, and God knows what the Chinese have, but we can assume that they have all this. And you can see the list. They've got it. They just black out the last 4 digits of the phone numbers, but you can see the area code and the first 3 numbers of these. I mean, I'm talking nearly every powerful politician in Washington, Republican and Democrat, Pelosi and McConnell, Republicans, Democrats, Obama's entire cabinet, Secret Service agents, their phone numbers, their addresses, everything. Bank records, credit cards, driver's license numbers, Social Security card. Also, many, many pics and videos. Selfies of Hunter using drugs, performing sex acts, possibly some with minors. We have receipts. We can see that there's one receipt that shows over $11,000 that Hunter Biden spent on a single night at a New York strip club. How do you spend $11,000 in a strip club? What do you get for $11,000 in a strip club? I don't know. Don't go to strip clubs, but wow, them are some pricey prostitutes or whatever is going on there. And you know, he had his own Pornhub account where he would upload, and he didn't even try to hide that it was him, that it's Hunter Biden, because he's got also references to his father. They're the same pics that he uploaded on the Pornhub, on his Pornhub website account, where he literally has spent $21,000 on live cams, watching prostitutes on live cam on Pornhub. Plus, he has his own. So his account, he's watching live streams of porn stars, paid up to $21,000 for porn sites on Pornhub. But he also has his own account where he also uploads his own stuff, which is him with what appears to be some minors doing drugs. I mean, I can't believe this website. I'm familiar with it, but whatever this website is, where the porn stuff is, I'm surprised that they would allow people to upload videos of themselves breaking the law, you know, doing drugs, possibly having minors, things like that. That's kind of crazy. I don't know if they're in any legal liability here, but they're probably not happy to hear about that. But he had references, and not only he puts these pictures up of his own pics, his own videos on his own account at Pornhub, and they're the exact same pics that appear on the hard drive on the computer that they confiscated. So they know it's his, and they know it's his account. The same pics are on his hard drive are on his Pornhub account. I mean, this guy is a dope. He is a straight up fool. And the Bidens, they had to know about this. There's no way this is going on with your kid and you don't know about it. So there we go. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I will be doing a video on Monday evening. Just sort of a pre-celebration video, just checking in with everybody. We'll be roughly 24 hours before we start seeing election returns coming in. So just going to see how everybody's going to be set up to celebrate the incredible victory, the glorious victory that we're on the precipice of. So y'all stay in good spirits. Get ready for a wonderful, wonderful celebration and a huge victory. Yes, there's going to be a lot of turmoil afterwards. There's going to be challenges and things like that, but Trump is going to win so big then that any challenge to the legitimacy of the election is not going to be an issue. Trump's going to win so big that won't even be an issue. I think there will be some battles over some districts and some vote counting and things like that, but ultimately Trump's going to win so big it's not really going to be anything that could be challenged in a serious way. So don't worry about any of that. Prepare to be in a celebratory mood. We're going to win. We're going to win big, and then we're going to begin kicking some serious ass. Thanks so much. I'll be back Monday, tomorrow, tonight. See ya. Bye.